We are so excited for this episode tonight. I got it. It was just my foot angle. Listen. Yeah, we're good. Kick something. Okay. Back to the show. We are so thankful. First of all, again, we had such an outpouring of messages from everyone who watched the last time, and it just meant so much because that was a really raw episode. That was a lot of emotion and a lot of healing for us, and so we're just really thankful for that and just all that encouragement that we've received from all of you. Tonight we're going to be talking about the feminine awakening. In discussing what we want to talk about next, and just in our daily discussions, we really realize that there's a huge difference or quite a difference in our awakenings, feminine versus masculine. And so we want to dive into that. It's a beautiful thing. There's a lot of distractions here right now, but so do you have anything to add?
If I were to add it.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Hegel stepped out for a moment. So
I know what I'll talk about.
So the camera won't switch over until...
Okay, I actually know what I'll talk about. I'm actually maybe it's lame to be excited. We are Amazon affiliates. We got approved, which to me was a big deal. And all that means is we get to link things like tonight I'm going to be talking about Eckhart Tolle, who's one of my favorite authors. Our dog is named after him. And so we're going to link things, like I said last time, that we references and resources. And when we link them, it'll be an Amazon affiliate link, which just helps support us in our podcast. It's no extra cost to you. I'm sure everybody knows what those are, but it does help support our podcast and keep us going. So our producer is back in the studio, and so we can let Jay take over here. We're going to do this one a little different. It's going to be sort of like an interview style, which I just felt like would help me stay on track with my awakening story. And he has questions anyway. He's really good about listening and asking really deep and good questions that prompt thought. So, Jay.
So yeah, that's the objective. The masculine versus feminine awakening. For obvious reasons, they're going to be somewhat different. Everybody's awakening is different. They may be interested in something different that triggers an awakening. And so the natural differences between masculine and femininity is also going to feel a bit different. So we thought we'd start with you and your experience with awakening is obviously feminine. And then the next one we'll do my awakening. And you'll hear as well how different they sound. What triggered me was different than yours. So yeah. I wanted to start off with a quote. It says, "As I awakened, something ancient within me shifted. I was no longer bound to the shame and fear they placed on me. The shackles fell away. I stood steady for the first time and walked away, not in anger, but in alignment with my soul's true path. I embraced both my light and my shadow, and in that union, revelation came. I became dangerous to all that once held me captive, not because I wished harm, but because I emerged whole, and wholeness cannot be controlled." First time I read that, I thought that was beautiful, and take a guess where that comes from. This beautiful, feminine,
masculine
goddess over here.
Yes, I wrote that.
I thought that was beautiful. That's
Thank you.
That's why I wanted to start with that. But
thank you. I wrote that I think this summer, and it's truly how I feel about my awakening, and that I'm no longer bound by shackles of shame or fear or guilt, but I'm emerging something more beautiful and divine and sovereign.
Well, and that's what I love so much about the way we're going to handle this. For me, your story, your life story, how you grew up, even going to where you grew up, walking around there, seeing that place. You are a beautifully whimsical woman. And I love hearing those stories. I love it's magical. What you imagined and believed as a child is a beautiful thing. And so I love to listen to that. I love listening to you, how you think. I love listening to what you hope for, what your dreams are. Even what hurts you. I obviously don't like anything to hurt you, but the curiosity I have for you as a person is incredibly fascinating to me and beautiful to me. And I love my time listening. So asking questions of you,
Yes,
sounds great to me. And I want to ask them and then probe.
you're an interviewer tonight.
I'm going to be good at it.
This is our first interview.
I'm going to be so good at it.
Yes, you are.
All right. So let me ask you this.
Okay.
When you look back, what was the first sign your feminine was waking up?
So I think I said already a few podcasts ago that my awakening began when I was nearing 40. Maybe I was already 40. I have to do the math. Doesn't matter. But 2019, 2020, which I believe a lot of people were awakening, but also it's the age of 40 is a big deal in a woman's life. I know this because I've read so many stories of other women, ancient cultures honoring women when they turn 40. In particular, the number 40 is like a sacred number.
Tribulation, if you're looking at biblical perspective.
But in
40
mystical...
days and 40 nights of rain. Sometimes it feels like tribulation.
Okay. Sometimes it does. That's true. But a woman obviously is coming into a different time in her life. There's hormonal changes happening. And I think that we've been taught to fear it. And we've been taught that it's a terrible time and to dread it and to look at it really negatively. And I want to change that. I think we need to change that as women because it is a beautiful time. Doesn't mean it's easy, but it's a time of heightened intuitions, dreams, just spiritual growth, and opportunity of growth if you take it. So what was the question? 2020 is probably when I started to awaken, and I'm sorry, I went off. What was the question?
No, that was good.
Okay.
Do you feel like there was anything breaking in your life before you realized you were awakening?
I think part of the catalyst to my awakening was the time that everybody went through at that time, which was COVID. I may lose some of you on this. I may not. It doesn't matter. I felt in my bones the overreach of the powers that be on everyone. And I refused to bow. The sovereignty within me rose up so strongly, and I just refused to allow my freedom, and I don't just mean my freedom because I'm an American, my human freedom, my sovereignty to be stepped on, to be taken from me. And so that rose something up in me. So not only was I in the time of life, coming into the time of life that women come into always, but then there was this aspect of my sovereignty being taken, or the attempt of it being taken, and I rose against that so strongly within my soul. So I would say that's what was the catalyst.
And it really kicked off into a lot of other things.
Yeah.
So if you were to have to describe that in those initial stages of awakening, what would be one word you'd use?
Freedom. Again, sovereignty. I felt so free. And the power that that gave me, that I felt with that freedom, was immense. I just felt free to be me, free to just choose happiness, to seek happiness, to no longer wear a mask, the mask that I was wearing of kind of the good girl, or not that I was becoming a bad girl, but just the
lack of genuineness, would you say?
oh, thank you.
Nice.
We appreciate that,
Camera
Odin
looks
slang.
better showing them both.
And we promise
Thank you.
not to say the one word that we said so much last time. But anyway, so that would be it, is that you know, just feeling my freedom being taken away, and I wasn't going to have it.
Yeah. No, I hear that. I was the same way, and may not have that same question, but and again, this was a similarity. She was feeling that. I was feeling that. I was in Texas. She was here. And I just refused in a lot of the same ways as well.
Yeah.
It just felt like
I think a lot of people, I think that is truly what, whether they know it or not, maybe, but a lot of people were triggered by that time of just like feeling like their very freedom was their sovereignty was being taken. And for good reason. We should never allow that.
You know, and I'm still learning to try to be more emotionally mature, but at the time I was like, fuck you.
Seriously.
I want none of that.
Same.
You know, so was there a moment you realized your body had been holding things that your mind ignored?
Yes. Which was a strange time for me. It was within the last 4 years, actually. So not only was I awakening, coming out of, deconstructing. I love the word one of our listeners used a couple days ago, deconstructing my very foundation, or what I thought was my foundation, and rebuilding who I was, and trying to figure out what I actually believed anymore and what I didn't. But then you add to that our situation and the turmoil and the emotions that ensued during that time, which were really, really fucking hard. My body went into, I think, a little bit of shock. Honestly, it was strange.
Oh, you scared the shit out of me one time.
Yeah, I guess it was a, what do you call it? A panic attack or something like that. And there was no reason for it in the moment. And I literally thought I was actually going to die in that moment. I literally thought, oh shit, I think I'm actually going to die. You said, should I call an ambulance? And I said, I don't think I'll make it. I don't think I'll make it by the time they get here. I think I'm going to die. Like, it was the weirdest thing. And so there was that. I had super itchy. I mean, it manifested in weird ways. Like, do you remember my neck was itching for weeks? And it was horrible. So weird things like that, emotionally, of course. But yeah, there was some weird manifestations that came out.
So we slowed down and just went into some deep breathing,
which was hard for me, but yeah, it helped. And then if it continued to start to happen for a few weeks, and then I gained control of it. I was able to recognize it coming and not allow that to happen, and breathe through it, and do some somatic breathing.
Well, and slowing down in that moment, and then perhaps I'm thinking our lives slowed down in general.
Yes.
You know, how did that slow down feel after, you raising children and trying to hustle and,
right.
Same with me. We slowed down, a lot slowed down.
Well,
how did that feel?
Sorry. I lived in fight or flight literally the majority of my life. And I was someone who constantly was moving and going and doing. And I'm sure it made people nervous around me. I know my kids were probably like, holy shit, like, calm down, mom. But I felt like I always had to be doing and fixing and going. And then to come out of that and to begin to find my peace and find my peace, which is you as well. You are a huge part of that. And to feel safe enough to just slow down and breathe and be at peace. It took some getting used to for me. But what a beautiful thing that was. It was really beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pace change for sure. I mean, when we first got together, you'd get busy doing stuff, and I'd be wondering if I should be doing something.
Yeah, I think it made you feel pressure. I can't read the name of that, but they said, "Hope you two are doing well this evening." Thank you. We are doing well this evening. I feel like every time we're doing this, we're feeling more and more comfortable. It's not easy to be seen.
Truth conscious,
okay.
Russell G, I think is what it says.
Thank you for watching. We're excited for this episode.
For sure. So going back to slowing down, and it's like you now are starting to breathe, right?
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about when that started for me, even before moving back here. But what emotions surprised you the most during your initial awakening and up to this point?
Sorry, Odin Slane says you need, does it say RSO oil? Clearly I need glasses on right now.
Yeah, RSO oil.
Oh, I will research that. I take adaptogens and all the things and mushrooms and some other things, plant medicine. So yeah,
mushrooms.
RSO, we'll look into that for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And so what emotions, surprised you the most during your awakening? I think part of the surprise comes just from you're now starting to analyze your own thoughts and your own feelings and your own emotions, where before you were just charging through life doing the best you knew how. But
right.
So some of the surprise comes from you realizing yourself.
Yes.
What were some of those for you?
Being conscious. I would say, so I see a lot of feminine awakening talk about anger. I don't think I felt anger as much. I'm sure there's anger that comes, of course, at times, but
well, I'll put it this way: were there some you didn't realize you were carrying that all of a sudden you did realize you were holding on to?
Yeah, I think I would say the emotions that I feel most strongly about are regret. I'm still working through this, but the regret of not being the healed version of me, or a healing version of me, for my children, and for those who I loved. So that's been hard for me. Sadness.
You've expressed that to me as well.
Yeah, I would say sadness.
We both have.
Mm-hmm. Has been like probably the biggest emotion. In the beginning, I dealt with even some depression, which again, I've never felt like I dealt with those things, but I think it's because I literally wasn't dealing with anything. Truly, I was just, so blind to what it really means to go within and to be conscious and aware of my own thoughts and feelings.
Once you did that, you started becoming aware. Did it create some grieving once you realized, oh shit, I've been this way to these people or to myself?
Nothing. I don't want to be emotional, but yes, it created some grieving. I grieve that time because I know that it affected my children,
Your brother.
My brother and I, sure, friendships. And I know that we all, and I'm not saying this just to make myself feel better, but we've talked about this. Like, I do realize the reality of, like, we're all dealing with the unhealed versions of ourselves at some point. Like, when we're young, a lot of us are really stupid and we think we know everything and we don't. And I definitely was one of those. At a young age, I thought I was way, way more grown than I was, and that I knew way more than I did. And thought I had it all figured out, and I just fucking didn't. And I still don't. I still don't have it all figured out. I'm still growing. I'm still healing and becoming an enlightened being of frequency, energy, and vibration. I'm still becoming that and realizing that and really grasping what that actually even means. So,
I remember you telling me a story once about this time you were having dinner with family.
Yeah.
And one of your family members, I can't remember which one it was, but said, "Whoa, you're kind of cocky." What did they say?
It was my stepdad. I was out to dinner, and this was when I first started just kind of, and it was a time of elation for me, like waking up all of a sudden and kind of just throwing away the old me. It felt so good in the moment. I felt so free. And I was like, I actually don't give a what anybody says or feels about me. Like, not in a way of being angry or mean, but like, I'm free. Like, I'm going to be me. And he said, "You're kind of a cocky dick, aren't you?" And I was like, well, I said, "I'm not cocky. I'm just awake. I just don't care anymore what anybody wants to judge me or say about me. Like, I don't care what you say or think about me. Like, if I feel like I'm doing what's right for me, and if I'm choosing what's right for me, that's all. I don't want to hurt people. That's not my point. But yeah. I just mean, like, it's just
to be clear, because I know her well. This doesn't mean an F you to everybody.
No,
that's not who you are or how you. What it means is internally you're just more free from this facade that we put on to appease relationships in our lives so as not to lose. So as I get what you're saying.
Well, it's coming out of a worldview, a religious worldview that was so judgmental and so harsh and so much shame, which, by the way, shame is like on the lowest of the low of frequencies that we can feel. It's horrible, but that's what religion does. It keeps you down here. I mean, I'm going to probably upset some people, but that's fine, but it's the truth. And I no longer was living in that frequency. I had risen above it really unknowingly. I didn't really know how I did it. It just happened. And I was like, I feel so free.
Yeah.
And so that's why he called me a cocky dick and whatever. I guess, and he was being funny. I mean, he was laughing about it, but
well,
people were definitely noticing. Sorry, go ahead.
I just read, it's actually Truth Connects. Truth Connects, Russell G.
Oh, okay.
So he clarified that. Says he's a bit shy on camera, but appreciate him being here anyway. It's how
Sorry,
his name
we both literally, he's wearing glasses. We need glasses.
Yeah, but he said he read a study that says full emotional maturity isn't fully reached until 45 to 50.
If then.
Well, it's celebration time because I have arrived.
You've arrived.
No, so
I have not.
Honestly, I'm 52.
Yeah.
So I know the work I have to do.
Yep.
But I can say, at least thankfully, it's a lot different than it was even 4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
I would hope that for the better. So.
But I think that study is probably right on the money. Pretty close to anyway, because it's sad we don't realize when we're young the work we need to do. Because you're just living.
By that age, you've actually been through some shit.
Exactly.
Of your own making and things that are out of your control.
Exactly.
Both. And so you've lived through them. And so the life experience and having navigate that so as not to make the same mistakes certainly helps, hopefully at least by that age. However, I'm sure we've all met some. You're like, this is a 50-plus-year-old man-child. You know, we've met them.
Yes.
I just don't want to be that.
No.
And I'm sure I have been at times. But next question.
Next question.
Okay, so
moving on. And I will say, I'm sorry, I'm going to look up RSO oil. I think it'll be really amazing. But I just hope it's not being portrayed that I still deal with anxiety, because I really don't. Do you think?
No.
Not, I really don't like I was. I
No,
mean,
we were
and
going through
this
some
was,
really intense shit.
this was at the
that point.
beginning of our relationship when
Mhm.
things were ridiculously rough, just lies and manipulations and losing contact with our children and all of the things that we've talked about before. But I think that is a great resource. I'm going to actually look it up and maybe I'll link it because I love anything holistic that can help us in any way. So I just wanted to say that. I just don't want you to think that I'm like living with anxiety right now, because I'm not.
I hope not. I hope I'm not creating that.
No, God, no.
Who did you have to stop being in order to awaken and continue awakening?
I had to stop being the good girl, the good one. I think probably started when my mom left my dad. I felt like I had to be good. I had to not make anything bad, so that it wouldn't cause any more chaos in our lives or pain in our lives. And that continued throughout my life. I think my brother, my stepbrother, they always would be like, oh, she's so good. She never gets in trouble. They thought I think they called me the princess. And it
Meanwhile, you were a little sneaky.
I was a sneaky do-batter. I was. But the fact is, I just tried my hardest not to get in trouble or not to get caught, because I also didn't want anybody to have a say in my life, like to tell me what to do or not do. I just wanted to do my thing, I guess. I don't know. So being good and not being so worried about being judged, like I said, I really think religion has a huge part in that, and it used to make me feel worried, like they're going to judge me, they're going to think I'm going to hell. And
was that role hard to let go of?
Actually, it wasn't.
That's probably what felt freeing.
It was not hard to let go of, which actually shocked myself. I was like, it felt like this mask was taken off of me. Like, not even that I did it, but just because I really believe there was a magic in it. It was spiritual, and it just fell off. And it was like, I realized I'm not in that prison anymore. I don't have to be.
It's like a heavy burden to walk around feeling like you've got to do whatever it takes not to disappoint.
Yeah.
Obviously, nobody wants to do that necessarily, but always being mindful of that constantly and overly concerned about how you're going to disappoint somebody is definitely a prison.
Yes, it's a prison. Oh, show.
How did your awakening affect your relationships at the time? Whether it was your marriage, whether it was your family, your children?
So, I have always been very independent. I was very independent in my marriage. He made it easy to be independent because he was fine with that. And also I don't know if this blends in with that, but I had to be more masculine in that time too, in my marriage.
What time?
Just the whole time.
Okay.
The entire time.
Why?
So I had to be like more of the leader, more of the man's job, I guess, or role, because I do believe in that, not in a biblical way whatsoever, but I just believe there's a divine feminine, there's a divine masculine, and both are beautiful, and we each have both within us as well. But so I'm saying this because my independence seemed to heighten during my awakening. When I started to awaken, I was able to really spend time with myself and really like understand and start to seek out what it was that I was feeling and going through. My friends, I definitely was losing interest with friendships. Going into our relationship, then fast forwarding a little bit and us getting together. I don't know if we're at this question or not, but people started to notice the change, and they wanted to shame me into coming back down to where they live, to the prison they still live in. So they did that by calling me, saying I was on drugs, telling everybody I was on drugs, calling me a whore, of course, and making up a lot of things about that. And these were family members that I thought loved me unconditionally, that I thought would, my own dad being one of them, telling people I was on drugs. And I've confronted him about that. And I don't buy the answer I received. It's unacceptable. It doesn't matter for, I think, a father to do that. But
it sounds like a point of maybe a little pain still.
Yeah, it's, there's frustration in it. When people you thought loved you unconditionally and would stand by you no matter what. I mean, we both grew up in a family that blood is thicker than water. Well, that's simply not true. Family is who you choose to be your family. That's definitely what I've learned. But I think people seeing me awaken scared them. I think they didn't know what to do with it. They wanted me to stay in the box that they wanted me in, that they were comfortable with. And
wanted you to slip back into the parameters of their worldview that you once lived in as well.
Yeah, and I was above their dome, their cage, or their prison in the ether, right up here.
Floating around in the ether.
Floating around and
down.
waving at them, and they're like, "Get your ass back down here!" And I said, "No."
Looking down is the wrong way to put that. It's
no, I'm
it's
not looking
a
down
judgment
on
of looking down. It's like
no, it's
hey, I want you to feel this freedom as well.
I burst out of the cage. No, I'm not looking down on anybody. It's just I was no longer in those shackles and in that pain. We have a lot of stuff. I know you do. I'm trying not to say your real name, Odin Slane. I know you do. And perhaps we get to talk about that soon. We'll see if that's something that happens.
I'll say.
Odin Slane, to everyone watching, is my brother. I'm pretty sure. Can you imagine if it wasn't? It's just somebody else.
I want to say that if that is your brother,
yeah,
based on the way you've talked about him, coming from a guy that grew up without siblings as an only child, which later on I found out at the age of 46, the father that I thought was my father wasn't my biological father. And then I figured out who was. We'll tell that later because that's a cool story by itself. And then I discovered I had a half brother and a half sister.
No, that it's said, not. He says my name is Bradley. I don't believe it.
LOL.
I was like, shit, I don't think it is my brother.
No,
you want to be brother and sister, Bradley?
Well, after listening to you,
yeah,
and wishing all my life that I had a sibling like what you talked about you and your brother had, I listened to you and there's a part I wish I had that.
I know
what you had. And so the hard part of what was said after the fact, especially after what we've come through, I have secretly hoped for you both that the hard conversations could be had because I knew your brother just a little bit.
Yeah, when he was young.
He was a strappy, fun, fun guy, and I regret that I didn't get to know him more. But I want for you both, if it's possible, to have those hard conversations.
You won't make me cry.
Okay. I'll move on,
wait,
Bradley.
No, hold on. Truth connects us. Russell, I think I read that right. Says it's great to see a couple being open. What was the first time you both realized that you both were going to have to put in a lot of work to reach your own personal enlightenment? For me, I would say our relationship is beautiful because we mirror each other. You don't find that in every relationship. I've never had that in a relationship where we truly mirror each other, which is not easy.
Not always easy to look in the mirror.
It's not always easy to see yourself. And Jason has brought that in me and I in him. And it has been humbling to say the least, because there's things that I brought of who I am and who I'm growing to not be, or to recognize and grow from, that were hard for me, hard for me to face, hard for me to admit, because it's not easy to face your shadow and to face your ego. It's really effing hard. So,
well, that leads
for
into
me
this
anyway.
question.
Ooh,
because
okay,
it's
perfect.
an example of what he's asking about,
Okay,
right?
perfect.
So it said, what shifted in the way you communicate now? And I'm telling you, when somebody mirrors, like our relationship mirrors, you have to learn it. You're forced to learn to communicate in a way that is very different, probably. And
Yeah.
That how did the communication shift, and how are we still working on being better at that communication so as not to hurt one another, so as to maintain our own emotional maturity, so as to be patient, empathetic, listen with a listening ear as opposed to listening to just respond defensively. Right. All those things are part of it. How did that?
So I was very much someone who responded defensively, pretty much no matter what. I mean, protect mode all the time, like confrontational to a fault. And so that is changing in me greatly. I'm learning to be more aware of my thoughts. That's something, actually, this book is freaking amazing. Eckhart Tolle is one of my favorites. Seems like the sweetest little man. He's just like a little fella. But the way he explains it is just talking about being aware of your thoughts. We are not our thoughts. We are the observers of our thoughts. And learning to do that, learning to be conscious, is not easy, especially for me when I'm feeling defensive or emotional. But when you do it, like every time you do it more and more, it gets easier and easier. And the result is more and more beautiful. Yes, Whitney, it's such a good book. And also, the next one is good too. It's called A New Earth. Love A New Earth. A New Earth I actually like better, but I highly recommend starting with this book, The Power of Now, and then reading A New Earth if you haven't, because gosh, that one like is a game changer for me anyway. So anyway, I'm trying to respond because I want them to know that we love these comments.
Enjoy
Keep them coming. But yeah, so I would say just being more conscious and aware of my thoughts as they're coming in and not grabbing onto them. I think it's been a big one for us. I mean, there are times it's less and less frequent now. Especially with our relationship, this euphoric, if you want to call it a twin flame relationship, whatever. But this euphoric, undeniable, palpable connection in the beginning. And then I still remember the first time. Wait, in the beginning or still?
Well, still. But
I know.
But it matures. I mean, if there's...
I'm just teasing.
The only thing in all of creation that stays the same is change.
Right.
I mean, everything's always changing. And so, going from... I remember the very first argument, which really wasn't that severe, and me saying, holy shit, don't talk to me like that. And then us over time, the fiery egoic emotions that rise from our own shit, our own past trauma, our ignorances and things like that. I mean, if we're honest and open about it, there are those times that we are learning to stop, breathe, think about our egos, think about our thoughts that we're thinking, make sure it's an active work, exactly like what's being said there. It's an active work in the midst of a conversation to continue a connection while not emotionally feeling one.
Yeah, because again, I come from a state of pretty much my entire life of fight or flight, and thinking that fight meant strength, and it doesn't. To fight every fight,
What do you think created the fight or flight for you in your early life and then on up to us meeting?
My marriage was a huge contributor. I was married more than half my life to this one man. And he was someone who was very angry, very reactive, very half empty all the time, doomsday. And so I always had to make it better. Like, it's going to be fine. We're going to be good. Or I had to fight it. Like, so I wanted it. I mean, does that make sense? I wanted to make everything okay for my kids and people around, even though he was falling apart in those moments. So it just continued that fight or flight in me, just a constant state of, do I need to fight or flight? And a lot of times I'd choose fight, thinking I was doing the right thing and I wasn't, or thinking I was protecting my children and I wasn't. I was hurting them. I wasn't, as they'd go to their rooms to get away from the tension or the emotion, I would tell them it's fine, we're fine. Your dad's just giving you what he can give. I would really make them feel, I know now, like their feelings were irrelevant, like they weren't real, or like I wasn't acknowledging them. And I wish I could go back and do that differently. I was just simply trying to make it all okay. And also, I would say my mom.
I've thought about this. How would you have handled that differently with, let's say the situation didn't change? How would you have comforted or listened to or explained that situation to the kids differently now than you did then?
I would, if I picture it now and like in my house, I picture my kids in their rooms hiding from the chaos. I would want to sit with them and listen to them, hold them when they're crying, validate them, and not make them feel invalidated. I would want them to feel seen. I also would not have stayed in that marriage. I would have left when my son was 4 years old, when I knew I was supposed to leave him then. There was no doubt in my mind, and he knows this. It's not new. It's not something I haven't said before, but I should have left him then. But I didn't. That's part of my guilt and shame with my children. I feel like maybe things would have been better all the way around had I done that. But
I read something today, and it's hard to wrap your mind around thinking back on a marriage. So I'll give you an example for me, right? Mom getting pregnant when she was 16, who I thought was my dad, was a great kicker, probably had a real legitimate future in kicking.
football.
In football.
You have to.
Yeah.
They're like a kicker.
I didn't say shit kicker.
Yeah.
Coming from Texas, when you say kicker, people just down there know you're talking about football. But anyway, and I remember growing up feeling like he probably maybe has some resentment towards me when I first started thinking about why can't I figure out a relationship with this guy. But looking back on that, let's be honest, if my mother could go back, would she again get pregnant at 16?
No. Probably
not. And I wouldn't blame her for that. Does that mean that I'm now worthless, or that I wasn't meant to be, or right. I'm just a bastard byproduct? Probably a real true bastard.
No, you are.
Yeah, I'm an actual bastard child, but
well,
I did get to meet my actual father before he passed away. But point is, if I were to go back, or if you were to go back, you wouldn't marry the same person.
No.
Logical conclusion is, if you didn't, then you wouldn't have the children you have. And so the thing that's took a minute to reconcile was the fact that I have the right children with the wrong person.
Yeah.
I read that today and I thought that's a good way to put that, because I wouldn't trade them for anything.
No, of course not.
I wouldn't go back and marry the same person.
Right.
Right?
You will wait for me.
Yes, exactly.
Aiding each other in reaching each other's goals emotionally and spiritually will determine how fast you arrive at those goals. But remember that what you're searching for is where you're searching from.
Truth connects us. That's good.
Oh, you keep saying his name. I'm like, what?
Well, that's how you say
Yeah,
it. I
yeah,
learned.
got it. That's good. Thank you for that.
So we talked about what shifted in the way we communicate now. Was there anything you stopped tolerating before, after your awakening that you tolerated before?
I need to think about that. I know there's boundaries. I've definitely set stronger or more definite boundaries in my life with people who are allowed in my life. If you take my peace and we talk about it and you continue to want to take my peace or hurt me, it's a no-go for me. I just, I think it is okay to draw those lines where before, blood is thicker than water. Doesn't matter what they do to you. They're thicker than water, they stay. And I don't believe that anymore. I think that as hard as it is, and it doesn't mean it's not sad. It doesn't mean you're not mourning that relationship. But if you have tried everything, if you have had those conversations, if you have asked for forgiveness, if they have asked for forgiveness, and you have been able to speak about the things that hurt you and vice versa, and they're still not.
Without being dismissed, without being gaslit about it, without minimizing.
Then it's a no-go for me. That's my boundary. And so that is way different than what I used to just think. It's family. It's family. You stick by them no matter what. And I don't believe that anymore.
Well, we've read there's so many different ways to handle that.
Yeah.
There are some that you're just like, there is no way I've got to permanently distance from all the way from that to this is a person that I now recognize who they are. I recognize what my boundaries are. The relationship is distance, and all of them you're still loving from a distance,
yeah.
right?
But there has to be a conversation.
But true relationship is having those hard conversations to where you're emotionally mature enough to genuinely listen with empathy, acknowledge what that other person is feeling. I mean, we've had this discussion. I may not necessarily agree what your emotions are feeling about what I've done, but I'm listening for what I may have done that contributed to that emotion, right?
Yeah.
Because oftentimes I feel like what you've felt wasn't what I meant, wasn't what I was feeling or thinking at all. But self-reflection says, let me think about what I said, what my demeanor was, how I spoke, what my reaction was that triggered that, so that I can clarify and say, hey, I acknowledge, I can see how what I just said and what I just did created that emotion in you, but please let me re-explain, let me reiterate. Here's what I actually felt at that time.
Yeah.
And by the same token, on the other hand, you have to always keep in the back of your mind, I might not be reading this perspective of my partner well, or my family member well, or this, maybe my perspective of it isn't at all like what they thought or felt.
Yeah.
And so if those two things are working together, then it's quicker and easier to have an empathetic, curious, reconciliatory conversation right away, right? I accidentally hit the mic. That was me. So checking 1, 2, 3. Good to go.
We're good. Yes, your communication and you're a very good communicator, and I learn a lot from you, as hard as it has been sometimes for me, from the background I come from. But I love that you're so it's so mature of you I love it. It's emotionally mature.
I don't always feel like I do well at that.
No, you don't, but nobody always does well.
All right. When did you realize, we're skipping to intuition and awakening. I love it. Intuition and a feminine awakening, because I can say her intuition, I will always listen to. So when did you realize your intuition was more trustworthy than your logic? And so here's another tweaking of probably some differences between a feminine awakening and a masculine awakening, the 10% of the left brain as opposed to the 90% of the right brain. And how do we use those both together instead of being stuck in one or the other?
Right.
When did you learn for yourself that your intuition was stronger than your logic?
Personally, I truly feel that since I was a child, I've always known my intuition was strong, my knowing, my dreams. I used to believe that saying it out loud, like if it was something that was maybe bad, or, you know, I felt something bad coming, or, you know, something like that, I thought my theory was if I said it out loud, even just to myself, it wouldn't come true. So that was something when I was little. But so I feel like I've always known, but learning to listen to it is another story. I feel like just within the last 5 years, I've been learning to truly listen to it and not dismiss it, or not think, you know, that's not true, or don't think that way, or whatever. But to really feel it and listen. And there is a difference between an intuitive thought or feeling or knowing and emotional. There's a difference. And I can feel now the real, I can differentiate those things now. So I'm still learning, but I feel like women, I've just always been intuitive. I think women naturally are. It's just a matter of, do you grow that, and do you feed it and honor it, or?
Well, and it's like anything else. It's an exercise. It's a workout, and
Yeah.
working that muscle out, so to speak. And the wonderful thing about our relationship is we can bounce that back and forth with each other, whether it's me intuitively feeling something or you know, bounce that back and forth. But like Marnell said, family doesn't have to be blood. 100%
Hi, Marnell.
agree. And you know, if I were to reference that back to like a biblical passage, and I don't remember exactly what passage it is, but there's one that talks about a friend sticking closer than a brother. Your friends, people that you meet, resonating on a frequency, so to speak, in a scientific way of explaining it, resonating at the same frequency, can be a very beautiful familial type feeling with a person.
Absolutely. In y'all's opinion, is the old saying, can't be your child's best friend, true? Or will one parent be a good parent and the other be a bad cop? Or is there a better approach?
Definitely a better approach.
Yeah, I think so too.
But what that requires is both parents, and this is the challenge, especially moving through the season of humanity that we're in. Ideally, both parents, both human beings, are awake, intelligent, knowledgeable, understanding, both worldview and otherwise, about so many different things. It's all encompassing, but we're not. And I think we're all beginning to realize there are a lot of things that have been suppressed, rewritten, edited,
hidden
by titles and tiara, like Tori says, or Tori Maras likes to communicate. We are so prone to love titles and tiara. If you don't watch or listen to Tori Says, highly recommended. But what we're learning is to, again, understand and trust our own selves as we're learning actual history that took place instead of some of the bullshit we've been told.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's more recent things like 9/11 or much more historical things about Yeshua, right? These things, if you're open to learning about them, changes everything for you. That's what it would require with children. Do I wish I know what I know now, back when my kids were younger? Absolutely. Do I also realize the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know? Absolutely. I think the intention of love and doing the best you can, understanding that you fail, and being gracious with yourself about the things in the end that you realize you did well and you would do again. What else are you going to ask for other than grace and patience with each other?
Yeah, I agree. Megan Tiller, which I feel like I know you. says, curious, I've always thought that too, that if I said it out loud, it wouldn't happen because nothing I wanted out loud ever seemed to come true. That's exactly how I felt, Megan. It's weird. Maybe it's a thing. Maybe it was just us remembering, you know, I think there's something to that maybe, but I don't know. I'm not sure if that's how it works or not, but that's funny that you felt the same way. I love that. We're all more alike than we are different. That's the truth. Especially if we allow ourselves to remember. Oh, good. Hi, Megan. Kids are smart. They also deserve truth. I totally agree with that. I would parent so differently than I parented. We've talked about that, like just how we would parent if we were to raise a child together. It would. I feel like they would levitate and glow. Because they would just be such little enlightened beings. No, I'm just kidding. But well, I'm teasing, sort of. I really don't think that. But it just would be different. It would be so different. I would not, because again, it really also, I think, has a lot to do with your worldview and what you were taught and how you were raised and, you know, what you're bringing with you to from that. And I would do everything different. Everything.
I love what he said. They also deserve truth. 100%.
Yes. Absolutely.
Right.
Love
I mean, truth, sovereign, genuine, free truth. Because even if you come from a theological background, truth is what sets you free, which is part of the reason we wanted to debunk the lies. Truth can set you free if your ego will allow you to make it right.
Yeah.
Like for instance, when I screwed up.
Yeah.
Or have screwed up. If you allow the truth, it'll not only set you free, it'll set the ones you love free.
Well, it stands on its own. You don't have to defend it, but it's important to speak it when you've been done wrong.
So, how do you define divine feminine energy now?
Sorry, I think my throat's making noises. So I think a divine feminine woman is strong. She's a warrior. But that does not mean that she has a hard exterior. You can be both soft and strong. You can have a warrior spirit, which I do, but not have to fight everyone or be confrontational or be sassy. I was taught that if you're too, you know, soft, if you're too, I don't know, maybe even feminine, I wasn't taught this literally, but I was taught this, then you are weak and you're a doormat. And I am not a doormat, but I know the difference in being with a divine feminine or divine masculine man and a more feminine man. I feel safe to be feminine now, where before there was a lot more of my masculine that came through. I felt like I had to protect our family, like I had to lead our family, like I had to do all those things that I don't necessarily, when you're in a partnership, believe that should be. There is a difference. I don't think every woman is the same by any means. But I've seen some stories of women who say, you know, I have righteous anger, and some of you may, and that is absolutely your road. I just don't anymore. That's something I was able to let go of. Is my anger and my I don't know, more of a confrontational way about me. I've been able to release that and just be soft.
So what does safety feel like for a divine feminine person now? What does safety feel like?
Being with you, who is a divine masculine man, I know how much you cherish me. I know how much you love me and want to protect me and do protect me. You are a true Southern gentleman. Like, I can count on one hand how many times I've opened a door by myself. And I love that. I think it's so amazing. But deeper than that. You cherish me and you make me feel safe to cherish myself and to love myself. That's okay, and that there is space for that. I never had space for that before. I was too busy taking care of everything else, in my mind. My intention was to do that.
I don't know how divine I feel, but I do want to love you in a way that facilitates you being all that you were created to be. Don't necessarily know how to do that all the time, but I know that's my desire for you.
Yes, you do that.
So, okay. What do you, getting down to like the last question or so here.
Yeah. We can skip ahead if you need to.
What do you wish women knew, or what would you communicate to, like, say, younger women that they knew before beginning this path? How would you initiate this path if you're a young girl listening to a couple of middle-agers, water hose drinking Gen Xers,
Not a middle
latchkey kidders, feral Gen Xers?
Okay.
If a young girl asked you, how do I begin this journey, what would you say?
Within. You begin it within.
Perfect.
I think it is so important to do the shadow work, to face your shadow. And a shadow isn't a bad thing. It is not a bad thing. It's part of you, and it should be faced, and it should be made friends with, and go within. I've had to go within and really go back and sit with my younger self, quite literally in meditation, sit with my younger self and tell her sorry. And
it's good.
Yeah. So I would just say shadow work is important in the beginning. It's something I'm still doing and still need to do. But just going within and healing sooner. Don't wait till you're 40 if you can. And so many, I will say, like, I definitely see in this younger generation a lot of things, but I do see a lot of the younger generation healing sooner, recognizing these things sooner than we did. And I think that's really awesome. So that's what I would tell them is.
Last question.
Yeah, last question.
And this is a significant one.
Okay.
And actually it's two I'll group together.
Okay.
What would you say to the woman who feels like she's losing everything? If a woman is in the chaos phase right now, what does she need to hear? So we've received comments.
Yes.
And have experienced it ourselves. It's just full-blown chaos. You've lost everything. Kids, family, loved ones, out the door.
Mm-hmm.
Folks that you thought, even if they were pissed, frustrated, confused, that they would say, hey, Dad, hey, son, what the hell are you doing? What is this about? But they'd love you through that, and then didn't. There are many going through that right now. What would you say to them in the midst of the chaos, in the midst of the storm? What do they need to hear?
I think that you're not alone is important to realize. We had to seek that out during our chaos, is like feeling like, is this just us, or do other people go through this? And I just think doing the inner work on you, not being a victim to the chaos, not blaming those around you, but really owning your own shit and facing that. Really it comes down to that. Just really doing your own inner work and finding peace within yourself, not from them, not from those who did you wrong or any of that, but within yourself, because that's where it starts. We have to be happy and find our own peace within before we can be happy at all. And just actually taking that chaos and growing from it, like using it as a lesson and an opportunity for immense growth. I have seen so many women in chaos who don't grow from it, who become a victim to it. Don't become a victim to
or
it.
hard, or
Or hardened.
closed off,
Yeah.
even narcissistic.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a defense mechanism for really deep-seated egoic traumas and things like that they just develop over time, and if that gets they'll fight tooth and nail for that not to be exposed. Whereas if they would just let go and give in to the unconditional, genuine truth and let it wash over them, they can rise back out of that in a genuine way with a much more beautiful life.
I agree. Agreed.
Well, thank you guys so much. We're going to stop here.
It was so good to see. Thank you for all the comments.
Yes.
Bradley, it was good to see you on there again. I love you. I love you.
Until next time, live strong and prosper.